Entitled mom wants victim charged after her son sends victims private pictures around school. I'm an attorney, and a few years ago, I prosecuted juvenile delinquency cases at the district attorney office in my state. The sheer number of awful parents I encountered was depressing, but not at all surprising. The deadbeats were frustrating and depressing, but the entitled ones were infuriating. So let me preface all this with something you need to understand to do that job. Kids are stupid, all kids. The smart ones, the dumb ones, the good, the bad, the religious, atheists, mama's boys, cheerleaders, and athletes. And I say this as someone who fully acknowledges that I too was a stupid kid. I once chugged a full bottle of maple syrup because I saw it in a movie. So you have to try and look at more than the crime or their life circumstances. So please keep that in mind. The bane of my existence in that job? Snapchat, because the second N0 disease culture hits kids right around that 14 to 16 range. And I'm sure by now you all know why having a 15-year-old girl send you a nude is problematic. And of course, they have to show their friends or send it to others after breaking up. Well, instead of charging these kids for possessing and distributing CP, I found a statute pertaining to the unauthorized distribution of electronic property and charged that because it technically fit the elements and would keep the kid off the sex offender registry if they moved. The goal was to teach a lesson, hold kids accountable, and make sure they understood that next time I could do it differently. The victims and their parents were also pretty much on board because there were actual consequences, juvenile probation. Plus, I always included the opportunity for the victim to talk about how it affected them in court and required the offending kid to sincerely apologize. Parents of the offending kid were always on board, except for one entitled mother who stopped me after court one day with her son to ask me questions. EM, you're treating my son, who was 15, like a criminal when he's just a kid. Me, I know he's just a kid, and I'm not saying he's a bad kid, but he needs to understand how serious this is, because if he does this when he turns 18, this is a very different conversation. EM, scoffs, okay, fine. What are you doing with the girl? What's she being charged with? Me, blank stare. Excuse me. EM, she did the same thing my son did, right? Why isn't she being charged with anything? Me, because we don't charge and punish victims of crimes. M, huffs. Well, I don't think she should get off scot-free because she's the one who sent my son the pics that got him in trouble. She's just as guilty as anyone and started all this. Me, trying not to yell right outside the courtroom. Okay, well, your son sent the pictures to his friends after they broke up, and they made their way around the entire school, and this girl has had to suffer through that and everything that comes along with it. Had your son come to you when she sent him the pics and told you about how her sending him nude pics offended his delicate sensibilities, I would have happily treated him like the victim of something and made sure the young lady knew how serious sending nude pictures to underage kids was. But he didn't do that, and we both know why. And the second he decided to take those pictures and send them to everyone, he victimized this young lady. However, if you think she should be held accountable for her actions, because what she did was technically a crime, I'm happy to listen. Of course, I'd then have to take a more literal view of what everyone did here. That would likely result in me charging your son with possession and distribution of CP to make sure I held everyone to the same standard of culpability, and you're free to. At this point, the kid's attorney said sorry and whisked them both away, and he ended up pleading at the next hearing and offered a tearful apology once he heard in open court how much he hurt his former GF. Entitled mom remained silent when asked by the judge if there was anything she wanted to say on her son's behalf.